Over the last couple of weeks, people have been finding out more and more about the SEC's truly hidden tactics. Or rather, why they might be pursuing some of the things they are, and also why they've made some certain choices in the past. Even over on Fox, they're starting to notice the connections between Ethereum, China, and the SEC. Take a look at this right here. Eleanor Touret stated, Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin is listed as a co-founder of WX Blockchain, a part owner of Prometheum, which was recently given rights to operate a crypto exchange in the US. Other filings show Buterin is also a chief scientist at Wanshang Blockchain Labs. Apparently, Dr. Shao, chairman and CEO of Wanshang Blockchain, says he gave a $500,000 donation to the Ethereum Foundation while promising to continuously support the development of Ethereum as needed. And at the same time, people were basically discussing, from Vitalik to DEFCON, quote, how Shanghai came into the fold of the Ethereum story, end quote. How an army of crypto hackers is building the next internet with Ethereum, and a couple months after the merge, Ethereum will go through another upgrade called the Shanghai upgrade, a name coined by the Ethereum community to enable staking withdrawals and lower fees. This is an anecdote of how Vitalik and I met during the primitive days of Ethereum and how the city of Shanghai came into fold of the Ethereum story. Vitalik and I would often meet to talk about blockchain and Ethereum, and of course, how Wanshang could work together with Ethereum to promote the development and application of blockchain tech in China. One morning in April 2015, Vitalik arrived at the Wanshang headquarters looking slightly tired. It looked that he did not rest well the night before. Shenbo pulled me to the side and told me that the Ethereum community had a night-long meeting the day prior. And the meeting mainly revolved around the fact someone had seen the cash reserve on the Ethereum Foundation's account and doubted whether there would be enough funds to support the launch of the Ethereum mainnet. Now, a 20-year-old Vitalik clearly faces some huge pressures from the community devs, really deserves some strong support. So I thought to myself, again, the man saying, if we could actively fund the development of Ethereum at this critical moment, we would not only become a major participant in the revolutionary project, but we could also leverage this opportunity to guide and implement Wanshang's blockchain research strategic planning. I proposed to Vitalik that we would donate $500K to the Ethereum Foundation under the name Wanshang Blockchain Labs, and the Ethereum Foundation accepted the donation, because free money. And if necessary, to dispel the developers' doubts, we would continue to fund the foundation over the next year so that the developers could focus on their work to help Ethereum mainnet go live as scheduled. Since a little bit later they didn't really need any more funding, but they still wanted to help them out if ever necessary, they proposed to the foundation that if the Ethereum Developer Conference is moved to China, Wanshang Blockchain Labs will sponsor everything, and ticket revenue and sponsorship revenue generated will go to Ethereum. Hence, that was the beginning of an annual Shanghai International Blockchain Week, which is interesting. Do you guys remember when Garlinghouse said that Ethereum and Bitcoin were, partially or a lot of under Chinese control, basically, and then Vitalik got really angry, saying, "What are you talking about with your garbage ass coin?" It was always funny that Vitalik, was basically a part of Ripple from the perspective that he tried to be an intern there. If I'm not mistaken, that is. Also, by the way, I believe Justin Sun worked at Ripple before as well. I'm not sure about that. The guy from Tron and BitTorrent, etc. But even though Brad Garlinghouse, I believe, was mostly talking about the mining centrality from before, I think this is still very, very interesting. Because this now basically lines up Prometheum, Wanshang, and Ethereum. It just lines everything up. And that again lines up with Joe Lubin consensus and the guys at the SEC, which is absolutely insane. Because you guys got to understand, the whole Prometheum debacle, it was all so weird. We didn't understand why they got some special privileges. Together with Ethereum, why did those get it too? But again, it's all one big connection web. Now, interestingly enough, the XRP community is not letting anybody slide under the rug or anything slide under. Huber was going deep, saying, how do we know that Bill Hinman shared insider knowledge about his regulations with other venture capitalists? Because other VCs went on national TV and were betting dimes to donuts on the exact things he was about to say. There was something that Mike Novogratz said. How did you know then? Right? From Joe or your other guys' consensus. And Novogratz, who is a very big supporter of Ripple, by the way, even though he kind of pushed it down the last couple of years. He was one of the earliest investors in Ripple and still has never sold any stock. So you'd say he's incentivized to also be on their side. He basically said, nah, I never met up with, not sure exactly where my line was, but I wanted to say, he says he's never met up with the SEC. The only person I remember speaking to about SEC matters was Brad Garlinghouse, who was visiting them pretty regularly, have been a day one investor in Ripple Labs and have not sold any of my shares in the past 10 years. And people are now basically pointing out that so many major VCs like A16Z, Union Square, all met up with the SEC. And so, if all these major funds did actually meet up, the Silicon Valley venture firms all met up with them, then one of the only ones that didn't is Galaxy Digital from Mr. Novogratz. That's quite peculiar. At least that's what people are pointing out. You know what? Let me just show you 2 videos and then we'll talk about it more.
I bet dimes to donuts. They will say Ethereum probably was a security, but it's not anymore.
I think we have an intraday chart, by the way, of Ethereum. Let's see if we can pop it up. There, this is what I'm talking about. So you can see over there, that was after the comments by the SEC. So interesting market action there, right? Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nascent
This
market.
is why insider trading is against the law, people. Okay? Right here, okay?
News like this moves markets.
Right? So,
and video number 2.
Decentralization, and that's what the Hinman speech, which tracks my memo pretty well, has come out and said. And the Hinman speech has generally said, okay, decentralization, we think, gets both Bitcoin and Ether out of securities law status.
Again, logically, people are pinpointing now, how could these people have known? Bruce Fenton said, because everyone serious who follows this knew that was a likely outcome. The idea that Mike had advanced info on the speech as if the speech was some sort of insider trade, even though that video kind of remarks it, and would even be useful as such, just doesn't make sense or jive with how things work. And that's, again, because Mr. Fenton here from Watchdog Capital, hosts Satoshi Roundtable. I've been in a discussion, I think, multiple times with him. We're usually on the same side, I believe. Or no, I believe he is actually a full-on Bitcoin maxi, not really a fan of any altcoins whatsoever. But yeah, so this tweet was taken away, I believe, by Mr. Novogratz. So how did you know then from Joe, or how did how were you able to say this like in the video? Bruce says because, people were all expecting this. And the discussion now basically goes into that Bruce says this was to be expected, and Huber said, but how did they knew exactly, or what, or how, or what? And Bruce says familiarity with the Securities and Exchange law, which is a funny one because the law is definitely not that clear. And how these things work, not hard at all for people who are informed or know the field, which I think is very peculiar if even people internally at the SEC, and that's the most funny part about this all, if even, guys, think about this. If people at the SEC, as we've seen in the Hinman documents, don't agree with Mr. Hinman's remarks, and he basically went out of his way to make these remarks, even though they did not approve it, they did not say he could, then how could the market have anticipated this such, following the SEC's guidelines, etc.? That makes no sense. And again, let's see this. You don't get it, don't you? Or you don't get it, don't you? How did they know? Because they had friends at A16Z. Pathetic. Setting an ICO aside and giving it regulatory-free pass is neither logical nor lawful. Seriously, why do you think Gensler can do what he does? Because Hinman or Klein did regulation? Question mark. Well, these videos, they do pinpoint quite exactly that indeed this was all not a coincidence. I can't believe that anymore. There is so much more going on in the background that I sometimes think maybe we should just stop, but I don't want to because I want to figure this all out because it's that crazy. And guys, when I say that people are not letting this slide, I mean people are not letting it slide. 2 of Lubin's token foundries, 3 lawyers, were former colleagues of SEC Chair Jay Clayton at Sullivan & Cromwell. I recently talked about Mr. Hinman's son and how he's connected to all of this and how he's connected to Ethereum. Now, interestingly enough, I think, there's somebody who said this all hold the back, all right, what we've been covering, is this is some of the evidence of the Ethereum Foundation's spooky ties to China, including Vitalik speaks Chinese, the merge was called Shanghai, they hired a person of Chinese origin, Hinman met with an unrelated Chinese mining company, but also the fact that Wansheng did set up the Ethereum Foundation wallets. Wansheng was one of the main investors. Consensus and Block Apps publicly said they will help China to become the leader in blockchain tech as soon as 2016, and a lot of other Chinese promotion like this one, Ethereum exponentially growing in China. But then Niraj basically says, oh, you're a Ripple guy. Well, here you go, talking about Ripple definitely wanting to target China for their blockchain-based payments or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how that even deserves to be in the same sheet. I think as a business, it's extremely smart to target China. That does not mean that just because you also want to operate in China, you're all of a sudden Chinese controlled or something like that. That's kind of funny even. Even our Mr. David Swartz came to enter the discussion because Bruce was not trying to let this go. Then again, the discussion was mostly about the fact that the SEC just enforces the law and they can't really make up new rules or anything like that. And so this whole debacle as to what they did with Ethereum was kind of strange. Bruce is asking for some further information about it. And then Booth says, Congress hasn't made a law that says that it can morph into a non-security, and the judiciary has not issued any opinions that would otherwise allow a security to morph into a non-security. Like, for example, with Ethereum, that had an ICO first and then all of a sudden was a non-security. Thus, a security cannot morph to a non-security. And so these guys couldn't have known that the SEC was going to be treating Ethereum in a proper manner. Bruce says, well, there's nothing really prohibiting it. And David Swartz says, I think that we may be conflating two issues. Some things like stocks just are securities. Other things like orange groves aren't, but can be offered for sale using an investment contract, and that's an offering of a security. Something that just is a security can become a not security if the things that make it a security go away. A dumb example is a stock certificate for a company that goes out of business. But unless digital tokens include legal post-sale obligations like redemption or profit sharing, it's hard to see how they can just be securities. They can only be a security if offered for sale using an investment contract, like with an ICO. And then that's an offering of a security, even though the token itself isn't one, like we talked about with XRP. If you sell XRP on the contract, well, then that's an investment contract, but the XRP itself is not really one. Or at least the SEC is kind of undecided as to whether or not they want to argue that, but most likely they will not try to because it's quite difficult. But that also then decides whether or not secondary market sales or investment contracts, etc. Nothing can change over time in this case because nothing but the offer, which is soon over, is a security. Subsequent offers either are or aren't offerings of securities, depending on whether they're offered for sale along with an investment contract. Do you disagree with the above? Are you talking about some third possibility? Or are you saying that offering a token along with an investment contract can temporarily make the token itself a security, but that it ceases to be one? For example, the digital investment contract is no longer enforceable. I believe Bruce has yet to comment on that matter because it's a really slippery slope. Let's quickly see if I see any responses already. I do not believe so. No, he has not responded just quite yet. And just for fun, I want to quickly show you guys this video here.
They are saying that Ether used to be a security and now it's not a security anymore.
They said that without opining about whether it was ever a security or not, we do not consider it a security.
The SEC is
Yeah, and I can probably sit here for another 2 hours talking about all these different strange connections. Just want to get this out to you guys, so hopefully we'll find even more people to research deeper into all of this. I appreciate all you guys sending me stuff the whole day. And it's really bothering me to a certain degree that people are denying these connections. How could they? Only question is, how is this going to solve our issue? Well, I think hashtag Fire Gary Gensler is going to be more and more trending as more and more conspiracies are brought to light, more and more strange connections, more and more conflicts of interest are being brought to light. And that's why I think it's very important that people dive deep to see that this is not a coincidence, it's not oopsie. No, this was cold, hard manipulation, insider trading, whatever you want to call it. And as I'd say, the moment it's brought to light and people really start looking into it, yeah, it's going to change a lot, especially in a positive manner for all these different cryptos, I think, in terms of regulation, because the SEC will either have to step down and say, hey, you know what, we changed our mind, or hey, what? They have to explain themselves. They cannot sit on the sidelines forever. Right now they can because it's not important enough, but soon enough, I hope it will be. Anyway, guys, if you want more of these crypto updates, make sure you put the notification bell on and try to press the like button if you want to, but that's about it. See ya.